What's up, guys? If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Also, please smash that like button on the video and enjoy the show.
But let's just say the Alzheimer's disease patient has around 4 grams of this amyloid built up, and we can clear it out with this new drug. First of all, the drug is around $60,000 to $70,000 a year. That's the first thing. The second thing is, it is eating away at your brain tissue and causing brain bleeds on most of the patients that have had it. Yes.
Are they reporting this?
Yes, that's what we have from the reports. But the FDA is still going to approve it because it gets rid of the plaque. But during the time that it gets rid of the plaque, not only are you increasing your risk of hemorrhage and actually eating away at the rest of your brain, you're building up more toxic protein because you don't have the money, the means, the resources to actually go out and exercise. And so you're building up more protein, more amyloid in the process of it. But this is an FDA-approved drug now.
Why are they approving something that literally causes worse problems than what it proclaims to fix?
That is the question that I ask myself every day. It's because we need something to give to these patients, right? And at the end stage, when you have, there is no reversal of it. There is no once you've got Alzheimer's disease is an accumulation of 20 years in the making. Congratulations. It was 20 years that you got yourself here. Took 20 years. Now you're here. Now what do we do? Unless you are extremely, unfortunately, I hate to say this, you have to have money at that stage. Yep. You have to have the means. You have to have the people around you, the help and support around you to get rid of and to have a healthy performing brain at that age and at that stage of the disease. But most people don't. So then they'll go on to this drug, which is promised, we're going to remove the amyloid from your brain, but it's causing so much more damage. Not to mention the economic cost.
Oh, the economic cost is insane.
To the healthcare system, to the people involved. With every person that has Alzheimer's disease, you've got another 2 people that are getting affected by it, by becoming carers.
Which is the huge tragedy of that disease. I mean, any debilitating, deadly disease that someone has to have caretakers for, it's so sad because people have to stop their lives and help them out. This one in particularly, it's you forget where you are, who you are, what you're around. You don't remember how to eat.
And the thing that upsets me is that your brain is everything about who you are, like I mentioned earlier. Imagine going to sleep not knowing who you are at night. That's the one thing that is sacred to you. Even if you've got a husband or a wife of 30, 40, 50 years, you still go to sleep by yourself. Not only do you not know your kids or your spouse, you don't know who you are. You look in the mirror, you're like, what's my name?
Yeah, I can't. That's my nightmare. That's the one. That is, I mean, there's a lot of scary diseases out there. That's the one I really want to do everything I can to make sure I don't get.
And here's the kicker, right? You've got around, like I mentioned, 55 million people currently worldwide that have this disease. That number is said to triple by the year 2050. 3%, and that's a generous amount that I'm giving them, 3% of this population possess the genes that are responsible for Alzheimer's disease. So the other 97% of people getting it, why are they getting it if they don't have the predispositions? What is it? It's lifestyle factors.
Yes.
And why did they not learn how to exercise properly, how to eat properly, how to sleep well? Because the guidelines from the government are all messed up.
They're wrong, yeah.
They're all messed up. Yeah. But why are they? Because the government is fed by the 5 food conglomerates, industrial military complex, and the pharmaceutical industry. So it's all just it's scary. I feel so bad for people who don't understand what I understand in terms of I see what's happening. You see what's happening.
Of course.
I understand medicine. I understand science. So I understand what happens, if I don't do something, if I do something. I understand genes and blood work. But one of my best friends, yesterday I did her blood work. She has absolutely zero idea of anything, and she's a smart woman. So she's a lawyer, and I'm like, doesn't understand anything about blood work, and I'm like, imagine the people who are just at the mercy who they've got to look after kids. Maybe they don't have a high socioeconomic
That's right.
status.
That's right. How would you fix it though? Because I mean, I completely agree with what you said about the three things that, it's like the circle of life with the government and power structure. But how do you fix that?
Can't we fix it through doing podcasting free education? That's what I do. I try my
It's a
hardest.
piece of it.
That's a piece of it.
But I think, and I think that's great. I think what you do and what some other people in your field, your colleagues do, is amazing. But it doesn't solve the economic incentivization, because I always look at this, and I've known a lot of people in my life who work in big pharma, right? Who are really high up in some cases, and they're great people. They have a job to do, and unfortunately, and we see this in other industries as well. I've cited this example, for example, with like tech companies and stuff. They're public companies in most cases, at least the ones that matter. And every 3 months, they have to fill out a quarterly report. And every 3 months, they have to report to the market that this is what we did, and you therefore need to keep buying our stock or hold our stock. And so the people who have to report this, who are on the highest rungs, they are economically incentivized to make sure that at this quarterly report, they have the best results possible. Otherwise, they're out of a job. And so it's less like, are there in anything, are there a handful of evil people? Sure. Like, I know that exists. But it's a lot less of that, and it's much more the circle of life of economics that keeps saying like, oh yeah, all right, we got to come up with something that's going to make sure we hit this quarterly report. Oh, do we have a drug over there for that? All right, let's take care of that. And they're not thinking about that, like, it's kicking the can down the road.
Correct. Actually, JP Morgan, when they held their annual conference in January this year, they got up and said to their investors, make sure you invest this year in the Alzheimer's disease drug market.
I saw that.
So they are betting against us. They are ensuring that we get Alzheimer's disease just so they can be running around in a Ferrari, and so their kids can be going to these high-profile schools.
But that's the thing. It's betting against their own kids too, because I'll bet their kids are doing a lot of the habits that cause that stuff, and they don't think of that. They're not consciously going home, looking at their kid riding bikes around going, he's going to have Alzheimer's when he's 80.
But when you look at some of the risk factors for Alzheimer's disease, one of them is, stress, chronic stress or chronic inflammation. I think
We're
about
gonna
it.
Talk about that.
I think about this from a systemic standpoint and think to myself, what causes most stress in people's lives? When you look at marriage breakdowns, I was actually reading about this. I think the divorce rate now is around 60%. They said the number one is coming from, it's scary, right?
Good luck, Aless.
Good luck, Aless.
3 weeks into it, pal. Lifetime to go.
And you're just a baby. The thing is, they say that it's that the first one is financial stress, right? So then people have to keep up with so much stress in their lives, let alone think about exercising, eating well, maintaining good social circles. Like there's so much to think about.
What does cortisol do to your body? Inflame stress at all times. Like, what are all the things it does?
Cortisol isn't a bad. It's not bad, right? It's like
But
that
if you
Goldilocks.
have it-
It's like that Goldilocks hormone, right? We need it for certain reasons, right? We need cortisol. It's when it becomes chronically elevated.
Correct. That's what I mean.
Is
That's
what
what
we
I'm
need,
referring to. Yeah.
And you can get this checked. Again, you could get something called C-reactive protein, or high sensitive C-reactive protein checked in your blood work, and it'll come up with a marker, and it'll tell you. We go deeper than that and look at many different inflammatory biomarkers, or I think we do around 6. So it does many things. One thing is it can deteriorate the blood vessels in the brain. It can deteriorate brain cells. Remember, if your blood vessels, right, you've got arteries, you've got veins, and you've got capillaries. Now, stay with me on this. Capillaries are one cell thick. They don't have walls. They don't have muscles on the walls of them. So in the moment that you get hypertensive, high blood pressure, or even chronically inflamed, it eats away at the capillary. That capillary, one capillary is supplying blood to a certain area of the brain. The moment that capillary dies, that area of the brain doesn't get any blood flow. What happens then? That neuron will die.
Yeah.
And you think, well, there's 87 billion neurons. Maybe a collection of them die. But that's the start.
Yeah, it
right?
keeps it's habitual. Yeah,
Yes. But then you've got arteries as well now. These arteries have walls around them, so it makes them strong, right? In order to pump blood and squeeze blood, making them effective. Inflammation over time ends up making the walls weaker. So it can deteriorate the walls of those arteries as well.
Now it feels like everything around us is trying to make us inflamed. Like,
Oh, it
meaning
is.
having inflammation in the body. To say nothing of when I walk down the street, knowing the little bit I know, even as a novice, but like I look into this stuff at least. I pass every restaurant and every food place, and I know they're not trying, but I'm like, inflammation, like it's all around us.
It's a cytokine storm. So funny, because when we were talking about sleep and you were talking about immunity as well, there's really great studies now that have been shown that even having 1 week of sleep deprivation, which is considered 6 hours or less, it was a study that was published in PNAS where they took a group of healthy men and they subjected them to 6 hours of sleep a night, and they actually measured their genotype. So they looked at their genes. So like I said to you, you've got around 20,000 genes in the human genome. They saw a change of 1 week of sleep deprivation in 711 genes. So they messed with 3% of the total human genome. The genes are like light switches. You can turn them on, you can turn them off. The ones responsible for immunity were turned off.
Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.